All right, guys. I am live once again. I was sitting here talking to myself here and didn't even realize that I wasn't even live. Let me see what. All right, guys. Can you guys hear me now? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and play what I just did because I sat here and talked to myself for like 10 minutes. So what happened was my stream key got changed. I don't know how. Like, something changed on YouTube. I don't know what happened. It's not the same. Like something changed. I don't know what happened. Weirdly weird. But anyway, let me play what I just said a minute ago so that you can hear it. I don't have to repeat myself. I have a recording of it. Let's just put that on here real quick, and then I'll come back as soon as it's over. This was just recorded just a few minutes ago, so don't worry. You didn't miss what I just said because I'm going to play it right now. All right, let's put that on. I talked for 17 minutes and it was good. So I don't want you guys to miss it. I'm going to go ahead and replay it right now. All right? Are you ready? And God bless all you guys for being here. This is live. Thank you for hanging out with me today. Patty Lynch, Diana, Margie, Royale, Sandy, Boxer Mom, CSE drivers, all the supporters, all the subscribers. We appreciate you. You guys are helping us get this message out, keeping this message alive and well. It is a good message. And I'm going to go ahead and get back to you right as soon as you hear this last part that I just said and you missed. All right, here we go. I'll be right back. What's going on, guys? Robert here, BP News Channel, once again live, trying to make everybody understand, make sense of, I should say. We're all going to make sense of it. It's a collective effort here to make sense of what's going on. You know, the main thing, I think, the reason I posted this is a legitimate article. It is coming from the Gateway Pundit, but I'm not doubting their data. I'm just telling you guys that this isn't going to be just contained to Iran. They're making sacrifices. They're sacrificing their own people, and the, you know, at the expense of, you know, what they believe is going to be payback to the powers that are creating this conflict. They don't want to yield to. You know, a lot of powers yielded to Trump. Now, and I'm going to take this from a biblical point of view too, because I do believe that this global push, many are going to say it's Trump's New World Order, it's Trump's 5D chess game that nobody can counteract. I mean, you've got countries capitulating to Trump's policies. Is this biblical? I mean, are you seeing something that's biblical here? Because what they're doing is they're literally causing a false sense of security or a false sense of peace without any real consequences for our side, right? But really what's happening is it's kind of like this idea when you throw a big rock into a pond, you see the ripple. Eventually that ripple's going to hit you. You know, we're not an island, and this global economy is not going to have a backlash to us, okay? So everything that's happening right now because of the Strait, you know, they're fighting an asymmetrical warfare. They're using asymmetrical warfare against the U.S. And it's kind of like that ground game. If they're good at a ground game, and we're on top, you know, thinking that we're taking them out, but there's submission there. If you know anything about fighting in the MMA, like mixed martial arts, there's what they call the submission holds, the where you get a person in a position, even though they're dominant, even though they're on top, even though they have all the mass to just take you out. If you're good at a ground game and you're on your back, it's kind of like that guerrilla warfare mindset. You know, the small guy can still fight a big opponent if they know, you know, tactics, just like the Vietnamese did. They were very good at their ground game. In fact, they were in the ground. They had holes in the ground. And their tunnel network was what we ended up getting just, what they call, it was just a war of attrition, ultimately having an effect in the end on the American people wanting to get out. But see, this is what they're doing, is they're grounding us in. They're taking us into a ground game. And so the Iranians, though they may not have on their assets militarily anywhere close to what we have in terms of bombs and military equipment, and we've basically taken out a lot of their infrastructure. They have already prepared for this ground game. This is something that they prepared for in advance. And how that's going to affect the U.S. is going to be through our supply chain and through the petrodollar's, effects it's going to have on the petrodollar. Now, I think that what Trump is doing, and somebody sent me a letter or an article that's connected to Trump being in control. He's been in control since the first administration. Even throughout Biden's administration, he was controlling the powers that be that were subject to his continuing influence. This is why Trump recently said his third term. I don't know if he said this as a joke or if he's really legitimately speaking in a Q kind of, enigma, kind of that dark saying kind of messaging that he's putting out there through the Q posts or the Q crumbs, that he was in control, that he's been in control. And that's why he posts a lot of what many would say is conspiracy theories, which I think was a military operation that was still ongoing during Biden's administration. And I think it was done with purpose and intent. I think there's a bigger game here that's being played even than those who believe the Q narrative. If you're a person that believes in the Q narrative, there's a much bigger play. It's kind of like a double agent or a triple agent. When you have spies and you've got an agent and then they're a double agent, but they might even be a triple agent. And so they might even be playing you. And you think that you're on the right team. Q is giving us the lowdown on what's been going on. Trust the plan, right? We understand that Trump's in control. He's ultimately manipulating all the power, the levers of power all across the globe, and the deep state's on the run. But what happens if he's the deep state? What happens if Trump is the deeper state? Have you ever thought about that? How about if he's controlling the levers of power and the human nature and the powers that ultimately guide humanity? He's actually the highest level of that, going all the way to the tippy top. And yet you're saying that's the white hat. That's the angel of light, right? That's not the dark, demonic, evil entities that we're afraid of. But this is the angel of light, right? The white hat that comes in to save the day. Here he comes to save the day. And so what we might be seeing here is a lot of magic, if you will, or spells. I put a spell on you because you're mine. Remember what Tucker said the other day? That Trump literally is putting a spell on people. And that when you're in his presence, you become docile and confused. And you literally are under a spell, he said. It's almost like being on a hashish high. Okay, so why do I have this thumbnail about $500 chicken and $70 loaves of bread? Well, that's biblical, but this is coming from the Gateway Pundit. This is coming from the Gateway Pundit, and this is what is happening right now in Iran. You're seeing the beginning of what is going to be cascading all across the world. It's supposed to hit America in July. The same shock, food inflation. We're talking about where it affects your food, ability to even get your food. I'm not just talking about food inflationary pricing, but we're talking about availability of food. We have a perfect storm. You keep hearing this term right now, perfect storm in the news. because we've got the crisis in the Gulf. Supply chain is being affected for fertilizers, for pesticides, for oil, gas, diesel. 20% more being taken off the market. Every single day that this continues, the more it's going to affect pricing. Then you've got the drought. The drought is killing off all the farms right now. Water is low. That creates, we didn't have as a cold a winter, and so what did that do? Causes more weeds, causes more pests. Pesticides are going up in price. Fertilizers up in price. Can't even afford. Gas, diesel, very expensive. Diesel is just through the roof. Farmers are shuttling their farms because they can't make a profit, or they're cutting back. And this is happening across the board. So your food is going to go up. This is how they control. And is this being done with purpose and intent? Is God allowing this? Is God doing this? This is why you look biblically, whenever there's judgment on a land, it affects the food. It affects the production of food, and it also affects enemies coming in. And also a great deception where people think something that's not actually happening until it's too late. It's kind of like Belshazzar toasting to the gods of gold and silver. All the while, I think it was the Medes or the Persians were coming in under the tunnel system. They were literally coming in under the waterways, under the city. They breached the walls by coming through the tunnels. I think it was the Persians. It might have been the Medes. Let me see. Who? Let me see if that's right. It says, let's see. He while intoxicated, Belshazzar ordered the sacred stolen vessels to be brought to the party so they could drink from them while praising the gods of gold and silver and bronze and iron, wood and stone. It says the act of desecration was immediately followed by a supernatural divine judgment. Disembodied hand wrote on the wall, signifying the end of his kingdom. The vessels were originally taken. Okay, so it says the night. Let me see, make sure I get this correct, because I want to know here too. It says let's see. It says, according to both historical accounts and biblical tradition, the walls of Babylon were not physically broken down. Instead, the city was entered through a strategic bypass. During King Belshazzar's drunken feast, the Persian army, led by Cyrus the Great, executed a plan to bypass the city's impenetrable defenses. The river diversion. So what they did was the Persians dug trenches upstream to divert the water to the Euphrates River, which flowed directly under the city walls. Wading in by lowering the water level to about the middle of a man's thigh, the soldiers were able to wade into the city along the dried riverbed, passing right under the massive gates. The drunken state of the king and his guards were distracted by this festival, and they failed to secure the internal brass and iron gates that led from the riverbanks into the city. The Persians walked through these wide open gates without a battle. This surprise infiltration happened on the same night that the writing was on the wall, and it appeared in the palace. Belshazzar was killed that very night, and the kingdom was taken over by the Medo-Persian forces. So, yeah, that was correct then. It was the Medes and the Persians. And so what I think is coming, it's not necessarily for this particular personage the Bible speaks of, but I think it's coming for many leaders that are oblivious to the real enemy that is coming to, it is a Trojan horse, and it is coming in unaware. Many people are completely taken by the psyop that is being perpetrated through the media. And the only way you can really detect it, spiritually speaking, is by having a relationship with Christ. And I'm just going to tell you that right now. You can put the piece, you can see the pieces and have the narrative that they give, because there's a narrative that's being crafted every day that you open up, especially influencers. People are being controlled and manipulated by media in a way that unprecedented AI influence is taken over the narrative, and it is giving the talking points to influencers and powerful military, government officials. They're all taking their cues from the AI. And so what is really behind the AI? Maybe it's Bigfoot. Have you been hearing all the stories about Bigfoot manifesting all over now? This is big, and it's very big. Bigfoot, right? It's happening in many different parts of the country, as well as UFOs. Now, the UFO file thing is about to be disclosed as well. So why all this interdimensional? Because a lot of people believe these are interdimensional beings. They're not just physical primates, or they're not just entities that are coming from another galaxy. These are interdimensional beings that are manifesting at this moment in time. Why? Why is it happening now? Why is it being disclosed now? Well, the whole Bigfoot thing is really interesting, the timing of it in the last few days. And now this whole talk about the disclosure of UFOs and the getting the prepared, these got to get the skiff, those pastors that were involved in this skiff, they had the secret meeting with these government officials and military. They're getting them prepared to tell their people what they need to know so their faith isn't harmed, because obviously this is going to change the whole way people think. And now they're going to start worshiping the gods of AI and digital data centers, as Elon Musk said, right out of Memphis. The gods of AI are going to take over, and so we don't even need the God of the Bible. In fact, it'll make the Bible make a whole lot of sense if we just get the AI to kind of give us our understanding and our might as well just stick that chip right in your brain. Just get that chip right in your brain, and then you don't even have to think. It'll just give you all the data right there. You don't even have to search for it anymore. It's just pull it up with a thought. But this is the whole lie of the end times. It's going to be your salvation. It's going to be your longevity. It's going to be your healing. They're going to heal your body of cancers that they created, and they're going to give you omnipotence or omniscience. You're going to have the ability to be like God. You're going to have all these great powers to do things that you never had before. You don't need the Holy Spirit. You don't need God. Humanity has built a tower into the heavens. We've become like God. We have the ability to reach into the heavens, into the portal of the heavens, and unseat the Most High. I'm just saying. You might want to be thinking about that. Now, what happened? Where's my stream here? Is my stream on? Okay, so why am I not on? Why is this not working here? Hey, dummy. You're not on anymore. Okay, you're you got the wrong stream key in there, dummy. All right, I'm back. Da-da! This is the real me. That was an AI me. That was AI me. No, I'm just kidding. I will never use AI. Now, I don't mind the picture stuff. Like I take pictures all over the place off of the internet and retool them, but I'm not doing anything AI. All right, so there I was talking to myself for like 20 minutes. But hey, it's okay. You're here. You got the message. And we're going to get into some of the info now. Are you guys ready? All right. So Yeah, this is live. This is not Memorex. That was Memorex. Anyways, guys, so there's some. I was going to show you the article from the Gateway Pundit on this. Let's just see if I can pull it up here. $70 a loaf of bread, and tell me this doesn't look biblical to you. Doesn't this look like what the Bible says, a day's wages for a loaf of bread? And this is it. I mean, hey, $70 bread, $500 chickens. Iran's inflation nightmare explodes. Do you really think that we are going to keep this from affecting the rest of the world? It's already affecting. They say in mid-May it's going to start affecting all these extreme. Now, a lot of the oil has already stopped flowing all around the world now from what was coming through the Strait of Hormuz. I think the last shipments were just in the last few days coming into America. We're kind of the last ones to be affected by this, by the closure. Now, it takes a long time for those ships to traverse, the Atlantic, Pacific, whatever, however they get here. And so that's why we're the last. But it was already affecting Southeast Asia back in March. Or is it March? April, March. And then it hit Europe sometime in late March, going into April. And then now it's starting to hit the U.S., all the price effects. Now, there's a deeper second wave coming. That second wave, like a tsunami. When a tsunami comes in, a tsunami waves, many times the smaller waves come first, even though those small waves come inland and they can kill you. But there's bigger waves that come behind it. So it's like a 1-2 punch. And then there's another bigger wave that comes behind that. And that's a 1-2-3 punch. And then you got a big wave coming behind that. And so what I see happening here is we're going to have one thing after another begin to happen. And that's going to cause more chaos than you can ever imagine. And nobody's ready for it. Nobody's really thinking about how that's going to affect them. And it's going to happen. And it's going to be the control mechanism is through food, through water, right? Food and water. That's how they control populations. And through weather. Many times weather has a big effect on that too. Now, I was just sitting here watching a little bit of what Christian had. I don't know if you guys know Christian on Ice Age Farmer. He posted an interview. I guess he had an interview with somebody and they were talking about this same topic. They call it the Omni crisis being used to engineer social control. And this is how they're engineering socially. They're controlling us. And it's not just the U.S. This is global. Global entities are utilizing food scarcity, energy rationing, and AI-driven surveillance, quote, beast system to dismantle national sovereignty and individual autonomy. That includes you and me trying to just make it on a daily basis without being subject to some kind of governmental influence and or submission in some, I don't know if the word feudal is the correct word, feudal type submission, but, it really is. A feudalism is something I think that would legitimately define it. It's a social, legal, and military system structured around land ownership in exchange for labor and service. So basically, they use you. You don't own anything. You become a serf, a subject to the crown and to the property of the crown, right? And you're just managing. You're just kind of squatters, right? Maybe if you want to call it squatters. But this is kind of what they're trying to do here. And it's to dismantle individual autonomy and national sovereignty. So it's not just for individuals like you and I, it's literally for governments. Both Western and Eastern powers are equally complicit in implementing these oppressive technologies. To counter this neo-feudalism, and that's what he called it, neo-feudalism, Christian Westbrook is his name. You guys know Christian, right? He advocates for spiritual resilience and practical self-sufficiency. And I am exactly on the same page with Christian. Christian is right on with all this conversation. In fact, I'm going to show you the place where you can go check this out. This is Geopolitics and Empire website, and here's Christian being interviewed by this website. So he goes into the depths of what this means. In fact, let's just play a little bit of it just so you kind of get a taste for it. If you want to go check it out, you can always go over to our Telegram page and you can find it. Or somebody can post a link here. I'll post a link actually in the chat. But listen to this. Just listen to a little bit of it.
Welcome back to Geopolitics and Empire. Quick reminder, I've got a new old sponsor, expatmoney.com, about, what happened to Ice Age.
And I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you do fantastic work as well. And you really get to the meat of it, of what's going on. But before getting your thoughts on that, and I know you've done a few interviews. You did one with Derek Brose a while back, but I know from my own experience and that of listeners that there's so much content out there and people miss podcasts, and you do have to repeat yourself, which is not a bad thing in this podcast space. So I'm sure there are people out there that didn't catch your Brose interview, and anything you want to, in brief, tell us about, what happened to Ice Age Farmer, between your disappearance and now your return.
Sure. So there was a confluence of things that sort of worked together to make me step back for a bit. There was definitely some friction that I got as a result of the work of Ice Age Farmer. And towards the end of the broadcast, it had gotten pretty large. And it was actually, there were a few rumblings of things. Facebook had started labeling, if you shared my videos, it said that I was a Russian disinfo agent and stuff like that. So I was kind of aware of these rising vibes of pushback, of friction. But there was one report I did on climate lockdowns, which in particular seems to frustrate some folks, namely the people at the Institute for Strategic Dialogue, who, some other folks in the alt media have also had friction from them. But they put out this piece that identified me as one of the core threats to the climate change narrative, progress, ideals. And then shortly thereafter, large sections of that, by the way, a lot of which was false, large sections of that were then grafted into a Washington Post article, which then it seemed was passed on to my employer and my banks and whatever else, and that resulted in me quickly being labeled a security threat. So they shut down a lot of my financial accounts and a bunch of other things that just made it relatively unpleasant. That happened in concert with some personal stuff, which usually I wouldn't get into medical stuff, but in this case, it is something that I've now started to be open about in the interest of. I took an antibiotic that was called Levaquin. It's in the same family as Cipro. They're all called fluoroquinolones, and I had a terrible reaction to it. There's actually a lot of people that have been really damaged by these drugs. And after now several years of trying to figure out what happened, and then looking into how do we heal from that or manage it, I did put out a couple of articles on that Substack at unshadowed.org just to explain, the history of the drug and why it's so damaging to some people, even if you've taken it before, it can be a problem. And then how to, what supplements and techniques can help you manage the damage from that.
Okay, so I'm not going to play the whole interview, but this is an hour and a half long, but he does talk about the Omni crisis. This is a little intro on where he disappeared to, because he did go off grid or offline for quite a while. People were wondering what happened to him. And but there was a real, influence that he had. I think he had a huge influence on this whole topic. He's kind of one of the forerunners of the whole, self-sufficiency in terms of getting your food security in order, right? And how to go about doing that and encouraging people to do it. And he spoke on a lot of topics, but this is why I think he was targeted. He was definitely targeted, I remember. And that's probably why he went offline. But if you want to get more up on why this is happening, they go into the depths of this conversation. And I think it's really important to understand how this is going to affect the U.S., not just the rest of the world. It will affect us. And I think it's going to affect us a lot more than what a lot of people think. So it says Trump's economic pressure campaign is hitting Iran so hard that the numbers sound almost impossible to believe. Reports that are coming out of Iran now show families facing nearly $70 a loaf of bread and as much as $500 for a chicken, as inflation devastates the country and the regime struggles to contain the chaos. This is what happens when America stops appeasing. Okay, so this is obviously Gateway Pundit is a very right-wing publication, and they're going to be right in bed with everything that's going on with what Trump is saying. So just understand that. And I look at everything. I look at pro, con, international media. I look at all of our controlled media as well. Everybody has propaganda in some way. So, it's always good to kind of look at everything and then just come to a happy medium of what in your gut is what is the true narrative. You pray and find out the truth is always somewhere in the middle, right? Somewhere. Sometimes it's on the opposite side, but it is definitely in there. And you just got to kind of take everything with a grain of salt. But it says the media mocked Trump sanctions. Democrats called his policies reckless. But now Iran's currency is collapsing. Yeah, it's not just Iran. It's happening everywhere. It's happening everywhere. The U.S. currency is collapsing. Now, you're saying the stock market's going up. The stock market's going up. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. Not with what is coming and not with what is being affected on the ground. Everybody is feeling it. Price is increasing exponentially, outpacing anything that is increasing in terms of your income, right? Your disposable income, your buying power is being depleted by the day. It doesn't matter how high the stock market goes. I don't care what it says on paper. It makes everybody feel better, maybe. But now that your prices are going up at the pump, now everybody's starting to feel it. Okay, and it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. So, in the meantime, are we going to even attack Iran, or is this just going to be a long war of attrition toward Iran and the whole world, American people in particular included? Because this is a war against our independence, our ability to be self-sustaining, because we've always been like that. Oh, well, that's not good. Maybe that's not good to be self-sufficient. Maybe you should be more dependent on the system. Maybe you should be taking all this technology into your operation. Like why don't you move along with all of our advances in technology and start depending on the bugs. All the they're making flour out of crickets. They're making all this new protein that's coming from bugs. We don't need meat. We don't need to keep importing our meat. We're not making meat here in America anymore. You know why? Because it's too expensive. We're importing it from other countries that we don't even know what they're putting into the cows. They might be feeding dead cows to their cows like that. That's where mad cow came. Remember mad cow disease? Maybe they're doing that in other countries and we're importing that same beef. What about the chicken? I would be so afraid to eat stuff in the supermarkets now, not knowing what's in it, where it's coming from, including the eggs. I don't know. Maybe the eggs are now being produced here locally because we were importing a huge amount of eggs. You know, what's in an egg? It's what you feed your chickens. What do they feed the chickens? Even here in America, they feed dead chickens to the chickens. They just compost them up or they grind them up as an extra source of protein, even if they're diseased. You know, chickens die for a reason. Okay, if they got some kind of diseases or parasites or whatever that killed them, they're going to just grind them up and stick them in the food to save money and also extra source of protein. And then those chickens eat that. Not to mention the fact that they're GMO'd and they're being vaccinated and they're being given steroids and hormones, and you're eating all that. You know, haven't you ever seen the chickens now in the stores? They're like inflated. They look like they're like they're like those muscle builders that take steroids and their muscles are like this. They're like, hey, you know, I had a friend in high school that was really thin, and he was really tall, lanky, and thin. And then one day, a few years after high school graduation, I ran into him, and he looked like a frog. He was huge. He couldn't even put his arms down. He was taking steroids, right? And then I found out a little bit later, his heart exploded. Yeah, because that's what steroids do to you. They'll kill you. You know, you keep taking steroids like that, you blow up your heart. Well, that's what happened to him. He died. Okay, so when you eat chicken that's been exploded on steroids, not to mention they're putting all kinds of other crap in it, they're doing that to the cows and everything else for your health, for your well-being. Yeah, safe and effective. It's for your health. Hey, we've got the white suits. We got the white hats. We're here for your benefit. Trust the plan. We know what's good for you. Take it, or else. Or else you're going to be sick and dying, and you're not going to have any. You know, there's always implied threats if you don't go along with the plan. You know what I mean? And so our food supply is being affected. Americans eat the worst, like, of any country in the whole entire world. We eat garbage. We are literally eating prepackaged garbage and chemicals and things that are killing our kids. It's just terrible. It's just terrible. But anyways, the food crisis that it's affecting the rest of the world. Now, they don't eat, you know, people in Iran, they don't eat the processed garbage that we eat. They don't eat the vaccinated and steroid, Frankenstein chicken that we eat. They're eating good food. You know, they don't want to be subject to the petrodollar for that very reason. They don't want to be westernized. And I'm just saying this about a lot of other countries, not just Iran. This is just the mindset of a lot of countries that are bucking the system. You know, you got China, you got Russia, you got all the BRIC nations. A lot of those nations are they got one foot in the BRICS and one foot in the US dollar. They don't know what to do yet. They're like, well, what do we do? Well, soon they're going to be standing back watching this great city. They're going to be mourning. All the merchants are going to be standing afar off watching this great city. In 1 hour, it's going to go up in smoke. I hope that's not going to happen. But you know what? I have to wonder if this is all the biblical prophecies coming to pass. If you know your Bible, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know the Bible, you might not have a clue as to what I'm talking about right now, but it's okay. This will shock you into seeking out for answers from the Bible instead of going to AI and trusting your dear leaders. Hopefully you don't trust the dear leaders and kiss the ring and kiss the boot. You know, you don't want that boot coming down on your neck, so you're going to be kissing it? Really? You're going to be worshiping it? Or are you going to worship the Most High God, the one that holds your life in his hands? You don't need to be afraid of anything if God is for you. Amen? How many of you guys agree with that? They go on to say, we'll expose the economic disaster unfolding inside of Iran and why Trump may have proven that financial pressure can be more powerful than bombs. Maybe that's why the American people are finding this financial pressure too. You know, I always say it's like a snake. You know, when a snake devours its food, it kind of, have you ever seen a snake devour its food? It just kind of goes really slow, and it just kind of pulls it in a little bit, and then it pulls it in a little bit. It's very slow, but it just kind of, it just devours slowly. And that's what's happening. I just see people thinking, oh, well, it stopped. No, you're getting sucked in a little bit deeper. Every time you're getting sucked in a little bit deeper. Trust the plan. You knew I was a snake before you let me in. Foolish woman. You foolish woman. You knew I was a snake before you let me in. Character is very important. Always look at character. Look at pattern. Look at patterns. Look at history. A leopard doesn't lose its spots, right? You can't change the nature of someone overnight. If they look like an angel of light all of a sudden, it might be some sleight of hand, right? It might be some kind of spell. I just got that song in my head. I put a spell on you because you're mine. Remember that song? How many of you guys remember that song? I'm going to just tell you right now, because that is exactly, and it's chaos magic, by the way. You go look up chaos magic. That's exactly what's coming down right now. People are being put in a state of trauma-based compliance. They're being traumatized to comply. And you're being squeezed financially. And many people are so dependent and so looking toward money as their God that when that God begins to say, hey, I need more obedience, I need more sacrifice, I need more worship, get down on your knees or you're not going to get anything. You're not going to buy or sell. You're not going to buy or sell. Save you worship at the feet and bow down lower. You're not bowing down enough. You want to worship this mammon. Okay, so are you going to continue to worship mammon? Because you're going the wrong way. You're going the wrong way. You need to worship the God of heaven, and you need to learn how to walk by faith and trust the God that provides all of your needs according to his riches that are in glory, right? His bountiful, eternal, creative riches that created all things. He even created the devil. You know, the Lord God Most High created the devil. So why would you be afraid of the devil? Why would you be afraid of the devil? Shouldn't you be more worshiping and fearing the God of heaven? And I say that fear in the greatest respect. Fear the Most High and trust him. Put your life in his hands and let him direct your steps. Trust in the Lord with all of your heart, it says. Lean not upon your own understanding. In all of your ways acknowledge him, and then he will direct your steps. Amen. How many of you guys know what I'm talking about? All right. Let's see what else we got here. I guess we can look at some more news here while we're still here. I got to get going here in a minute, but I'm going to go through some of the highlights here with some of the things that are happening here. Okay. Mega drought. We just experienced the driest first 3 months of a year in U.S. history. January, February, and March were insanely dry. In fact, in all of the U.S. history, conditions have never been so dry during the first 3 months of the year. Just think about that for a moment. Not even during the Dust Bowl days of the 1930s were conditions this dry. This is according to Michael Schneider. You want to check out Michael Schneider. This is his post. Oil storage tanks in the United States Listen to this. Will start to run dry somewhere around July 4th. I love the way they use that, July 4th. Why would they do that? Why would they say July 4th? Isn't that the day of America's birth? Why would they say it's going to run dry on July 4th? I've never seen anything like it before. That sounds like Trump. I've never seen anything like it before. I've never seen anything like it before. Storage tanks for oil, jet fuel, diesel, gasoline will be running out in Europe in May. That's this month. Oil storage tanks in the United States will run empty somewhere in the July 4th period. This is according to Carney's Jeff Curry, and this is a Bloomberg article. Bloomberg. All right, let's listen to see what he had to say. I want to just hear it in his own words here. Let's listen.
When do storage tanks run empty?
Your parts of the world, like Australia, Philippines, Thailand, you are. But the question is when and where. I still say that with you, it's going to be, sometime in the month of May that you're going to end up with Europe hitting tank bottoms, and in the U.S. it's somewhere in that July 4th time period, if not sooner. By the way, the inventories number coming out of the U.S., the ones we got last night, the ones last week, I've never seen anything like that before. And I think that it's important to remember that these inventory numbers, let's define terms, a deficit versus a shortage. We have a deficit today, meaning that demand is above supply and we're drawing inventories. It's not a shortage yet. So to answer your question, you have the shortages in places like, Asia, and it's not that bad yet because you're not completely at tank bottoms. But in places like Europe and the United States, you're in a deficit and you don't hit the shortages until you hit tank bottoms.
Well, tank bottom. We are tanking. That's why they say you're tanking it, man. You're tanking. The economy is tanking. What does that mean? It's hitting rock bottom. There's nothing left. It's empty. It's like all the lights are on, but nobody's home. Wake up, everybody. The Trojan horse is in the house. The Trojan horse is in the house. Do you have rice, beans? I was going to say, you better have everything in order. You better have things stocked up on that you're going to need. Because it's all going to go up in price if it's not going to disappear altogether. It's going to be worse than COVID shortages. I'm just going to tell you, what's coming is going to be worse than COVID. It's going to be worse than COVID. God is giving you a little bit of a little period here to prepare. As we have always tried to alert people ahead of time about things, so we're doing it once again. Giving you a heads up. The Israeli Air Force just carried out an airstrike in Beirut, the capital of Lebanon. This was supposedly an assassination strike. I'm not sure who, but it was an attempt to take somebody out. All right, let's take a look and see what else is going on here. Trump optimistic as U.S. awaits Iran's response to peace framework. U.S. officials expect a response from Iran within the next 24 to 48 hours, with one official saying, "We're not far, but there is no deal yet." How long have they been saying that? Sounds like that's been the same recurring theme for quite some time. Is this the one that's going to actually do it? They going to say uncle? They going to give in? They going to kiss the ring? What do you think? What is your thoughts? Iranians attack The Iranian drone attack on Iranian Kurdish opposition party in Erbil. Okay, so there's been some things going on in Iraq. U.S. heavy U.S. air jet activity over northern Iraq's Kurdistan region. So that would also be connected to what's happening here with this drone attack. Russian Foreign Ministry urges to take the defense ministry's warning about possible retaliatory strike on Kiev in case of a violation of the ceasefire on May 9th as seriously as possible. Was there a ceasefire in Ukraine? Russian war? Warsaw sets conditions for Fico's flight over Poland to Moscow on Victory Day. Warsaw is ready to let the Slavic prime minister travel to Russia if he unblocks aid to Ukraine, said the Polish foreign minister Sikorski. Huh. I wonder what's going on there. Wow, that's interesting. And see, this is really right here, the captured territories of southern Ukraine by the Russians. That's really what all they really wanted, was that whole very mineral rich, resource rich areas. It's worth billions and billions of dollars, or trillions of dollars, I should say, trillions of dollars, this area. And that now that they have control of it, the eastern part of Ukraine, that's really all they really need, because the rest of Ukraine is not worth anything in terms of their resources. And if they can make a settlement now, they'll be fine with that, because they're going to have everything that they need in terms of titanium, lithium, titanium, all of these, zircon, all of this stuff, graphite, all of these types of, and there's all kinds of stuff there that are, resources that are, the fertilizers, all kinds of stuff comes out of Ukraine. I think the fertilizers are really big there too. And the soil, rich soil. Oh, some of the best soil for growing is right there in Ukraine. So the Russians may have control of all that too. Let's take a look at some other stuff here. Melania and Trump share a chuckle when Melania mentions Trump's empathy. Let's listen to that. That sounds interesting. Let's see if we can watch that. Hold on real quick here. Let me get this. It's a little bit too big here. All right, here's Trump and Melania talking about empathy. You got to be kidding me.
Most know my husband as the strong commander-in-chief, but his empathy transcends the role and shape a caring leader who constantly remembers each and every American soldier is someone's child. Distinguished guests, please join me with a warm welcome for our President, Donald J. Trump, as the strong commander-in-chief. But his empathy transcends the role and shape a caring leader.
He's like, yep, I'm empathetic. Yeah, did you see how that? Yep, I'm empathetic. There you go. That's me. like, who does that? Yeah, that's me. That's me. I'm empathetic. Yes. Make sure you applaud. Don't forget to applaud. I'm very empathetic. But anyways, I guess these are necessary to humanize and make him feel a little bit more like he's one of, he cares for us. He cares for his wife. Obviously, he cares for the world. This is why he's got the Board of Peace. Seven top-tiered board members and 10 regional mid-tier leaders. 7 heads and 10 horns. They're all right there for global peace and order, taking over where the UN left off. Trump's doing it, man. He's doing it. One of the greatest miracles that ever happened on planet Earth was warp speed with military quickness and getting that shot out to the whole world. He's so humble. Yeah, he's very humble too, Alan. Yeah, very humble. What a humble guy. Man, oh man. I'm telling you. One of the most humble men on the whole planet. Melania honors military mothers. America's mothers help build the soul of our nation. Yes, thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for those sacrifices that you brought. I pray that you would find enduring strength as your loved ones serve in defense of our freedom. Let's see. Anthropic? What is this? Anthropic unveils dreaming feature to help its AI agents self-improve. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. Dreaming. AI dreaming. They're probably going to have that song, California Dreaming, in their head. AI dreaming. Da, 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 da. Trump abandons accelerated training program to quickly deploy thousands of new ICE agents hired in recent months. I wonder why he would abandon it. That's interesting. Let me look. Why would he abandon it? Oh, they're not going to deport anybody anymore. I guess all those detention centers are actually not really. Maybe they're just going to just throw them in there and just let them kind of live there for whatever. Is that what they're doing? For all those new detention centers they're buying and building all over the country? So what's going to happen here? The Trump administration has abandoned the accelerated training program it launched to rapidly deploy thousands of new ICE agents hired in recent months. The Fast Track initiative significantly shortened basic training for deportation officers, cutting it from a standard 72-day, 584-hour curriculum to approximately 42 days and only 336 hours of curriculum. The Department of Homeland Security is now overhauling. Let me turn that off there. Is now overhauling the training program and restoring the full requirements. Veteran officers will be certified and sent to field offices specifically to deliver additional instruction and on-the-job mentoring to the recent hired agents. The decision follows intense political blowback and criticism from whistleblowers and Democrats who described the shortened program as deficient, defective, and broken. Border Czar Holman and acting ICE Director Lyons held discussions with lawmakers about training shortfalls during recent funding negotiations. One administration official said the changes represent a serious effort to improve standards. We're actually doing something good here. Wow. Okay, so they're actually going to be not trying to do this, which is going to cause a lot of backlash. They're trying to make sure that they do it and invest in the training so they're better equipped, where they don't do something that's going to cause a backlash, right? These agents have to be trained. They don't want any unnecessary fallout politically and or through media showing abuse, right? We don't want to have anything messing up this program. So they're going to put money in it, I guess. But hey, your $5,000 stimulus check is still coming because of all that money that Doge found. Remember the billions and trillions of dollars that it was supposed to have secured in confiscation. It was going to give you a $5,000 stimulus. Hey, and there's also another $2,000 stimulus check coming for all that tariff money that we gained. Right? That's still coming too. Don't worry. It's coming. Got to do the right way. We don't want any discontent, populations out there that are going to be groaning under a lack of food and gas and energy. All that energy and all that power that's being generated needs to go to the AI data centers. That's the main place they need to go, because that's what's funded all this new automation. We don't, hey, you got universal basic income coming, so don't worry. We're going to take care of you. Your jobs are going bye-bye because AI is taking over everything, right? We don't even really need people anymore. And they're just now rolling out all these programs. I mean, did you see how they're firing people from every sector because of AI? I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to just tell you this right now. I was doing some thing that I needed to help on, and I'm going to tell you the honest truth. I was sitting there trying to build something online with the website, and there was all these internal conflicts I was coming across that were having to do with like code, with templates and codes and everything that, when you code a site, a lot of times it's very, you got to have a lot of knowledge, right, about how things work digitally. And so I'm sitting there trying to figure out what the heck is going on with this site. So I go to the chat and I'm going to try to talk to a human. I always say, human, please, human, because the AI comes on, wants to talk to you. And you're like, please give me a human. I need to get this fixed. And they couldn't figure it out. I went round and round with a human for hours. And then all of a sudden I'm sitting there waiting in the queue, and, the AI's there. And so I'm just like, okay, whatever. I'll just type in, I'm having a problem here, and this is it. This is what it's. AI is more intuitive. It answers in a second, and it gives all the information that you need. And then you follow that. Bam, it knew everything about anything that was going on with the site. I'm telling you, and it solved the problem so quick. And I couldn't believe how intuitive and how aware of what I was typing, how it knew. I was blown away. Now, I already know what the AI can do because I've been studying this, but to have it happen where it actually solved a problem of mine, I'm thinking, what in the world? We don't even need humans anymore. Literally, we don't need humans. If it's doing this kind of thing, we don't need humans. If it's able to intuitively understand what you're saying, even if you're typing wrong characters, even if you're got bad grammar, even if you don't use proper English or spell correctly, it still knows exactly what you're thinking. I already looked at that. Oh, here's a Iran drone attack on the Kurdish opposition. Okay, so this is something that just popped up here. Let's just look at that. That's in Iraq. So there are conflicts still going on over there. Another attack, the IRGC attacks again. So this is the second time inside of Iraq. This just happened. Heavy explosions have been heard in Harar Erbil Governorate. This is in Iraq. That was only about 10 minutes ago. The Iranian Kurdish opposition group in the eastern Erbil Governorate has been struck. There's some more video. A violent explosion was heard. This was just 1 minute ago in Shakwalwa, Erbil Governorate. So something really big is going on right now inside of Iraq. Something very big is going on inside of Iraq right now. Oh, let's see what else we got here. Oh, that whole thing with Bigfoot? Let's take a look at that. What do you think about this Bigfoot stuff? You guys have any thoughts on that? There's all kinds of new Bigfoot sightings that are happening all over what was it, the Northeast? Possible Bigfoot resurgence in Ohio are mounting, with residents across the northeast part of the state describing eerie encounters, unexplained sounds, and massive footprints that some believe point to a large unidentified creature roaming the wilderness. The wave of sightings began on March 6th when a woman in Portage County reported finding unusually large footprints across her yard, impressions that local sheriff's deputies were unable to readily explain. Since then, accounts have multiplied across the region, particularly in the wooded corridor between Akron and Youngstown, fueling speculation that something or someone is moving through the area. Ooh. They make some very loud noises too, from what they're saying. Here's some of the footprints. That's a big foot. That's a big foot. Look at that footprint. Pretty large. And that guy's giving the devil sign right there. Yeah, we love the devil. He's like, Bigfoot. Look at these guys. What the heck are they doing? Giving the devil sign. Look at how big that foot is. Now, where are the other feet that go along with it? That could have been just somebody pulling something out of the ground there. Is that really a footprint? I want to see a tracks. Look at that dude. That looks like that monkey from Will and Holly and Chaka. Remember that? How many of you guys remember that? Look at that. Washington has had 713 sightings. California has had 461. Florida, 339. Ohio, 321. Illinois, 330. Look at all those sightings. So there's some of the footprints. They do look like real feet. Kind of, sort of, don't they? That looks like a footprint right there. The heck? I don't know. Remember that? What was it called? Land of the Lost. Land of the Lost. Remember that little ape? What was his name? Chaka? Monkey. He was like a monkey. Yeah, Chaka. His name was Chaka. You know, they actually made a Land of the Lost movie with Will Ferrell, like a reboot of the movie. Remember that? But the old, the old, I can't play the whole thing because remember this? How many of you guys ever watched this when you were a kid? Oh, here we go. Remember this?
Will and Holly. On a routine expedition, met the greatest.
Okay, so I'm not sure what's going on here because I can't. I'm sorry, I was muted there. I'm sitting here looking at this video on YouTube and I can't share it. Is that weird? How come I can't screen share? That is so bizarre. Well, you can see that, right? Okay. So let's see if you can see this. Nope, it doesn't show it. That is so bizarre. It kind of shows it, but then it goes black. I've never seen that happen before. I'm wondering if that's some kind of a new thing that YouTube has where you can't actually see it. I can't even show a clip. All right, so I'm going to try a different video and see if it's just this particular type of video. Let's see if you can see my video. Yeah, see, you can see me. This is my video. That's really weird. I wonder why the Land of the Lost can't be seen. Land of the Lost. Remember the Slee Stacks? Yeah, see, I can see it on here. This is Chaka. Oh, Chaka. Marshall, Will, and Holly on a routine expedition. This is actually live right now. This is an actual live. This is an actual live event. Look at this. I can go back. Where are the Slee Stacks? Oh, the Slee Stacks. I just love the Slee Stacks. Remember the Slee Stacks? They would be like all. I would always freak out every time I see these Slee Stacks. These are like the. Get them! Oh no! They've got Will! No! How many of you guys remember these movies or these cartoons? Whatever they were cartoons to me. Those are the aliens that are being disclosed. The disclosure is here. Alien disclosure. It's actually Sleestacks. They're hybrid lizard people. All right, I better get going. I'm just wasting time now. I better get going, guys. And I'll be back if there's anything else that I want to update you guys on. Stay tuned. Keep us on the bookmark. Make sure you get connected to our app. It's so important to stay on that app and support what we're doing because we want to keep the app going. And that app costs us a lot of money. So I want to make sure we keep touch and we don't lose anybody. And the app is a great way to do that. So stay tuned to the app. God bless. The Lord bless you. The Lord keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you. Be gracious to you. Amen. God bless. I'll talk to you soon. Robert here at BP News. Wanted to let you know that we've got that early warning alert system set up. It is the BP News app. Don't miss out on breaking news when it happens in real time. You will get a push notification and or a text alert. In order to get the text alert, once you download the app, make sure you hit the right top hand corner icon, little person icon up there, and register with your phone number, and that way we can send you a text alert. Otherwise, just use it as a guest and get the push notification. That comes directly through the app, and you'll see an alert when we go live. Stay in touch with all of our social media as well here at BP News. God bless.